my friends out there in YouTube land? Rockin' Dave, North Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. I was not going to go live today, but since I had some extra time, I figured why not. I like playing a little bit of the jazz fusion on Sundays. It reminds me of the good old days when I'd be jamming with my friends back in Chicago. Plus, I've had so many people ask me questions on my right hand technique and so much comment on my right hand technique. And it's not just with the speed. Thank you so much, Heyman, for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Really enjoyed Guitar Hack's live chat. I was able to tune in while I was rehearsing with some of the songs for our gig on Friday. And the place I used to play at, Le Corte Bistro, they got sold. That's the place, the real fancy place where I was doing all the classical style guitar. And they got sold, and so now they got new owners. And I contacted the new owner yesterday, and I said, hey, are you guys still offering live music, and you still interested, and blah, blah, blah. He sent me another text. So we're back live again. I gave him the options of either solo guitar or duo, because now I don't know what the clientele is going to be like. I know I'm going to have some spillage from the old Le Corte. So that being said, we're going to definitely mix it up. And well, he replied and says, okay, we'll try with the duo. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll do both, duo, and we'll see what happens. So it was interesting watching Guitar Hack and Rick Romanelli, great guitar player, great guys. Both of them are excellent guitars, But I had, watching the video and remembering people like Ed Dana would make comments on my channel, or Ed Dana would make comments on my channel, or comments on his channel about my right hand technique, and just is shredding good or shredding not, and basically, can you shred on rhythm? Okay, it isn't really the question of to shred or not to shred, or what one is better than the other. Everything serves a purpose. And for a lot of us who started back in the day, I remember when I started playing, the term shred, was non-existent, And, but anyways, developing the style that I did was basically the result of listening to, discovering guitar players like Al Di Meola and Alan Holdsworth when he played with Tony Williams' Lifetime and that. Plus, growing up in the heart of Chicago, in the city, by the blues and jazz clubs, I was exposed to all this. Plus, I had a lot of Latino friends, and all my guitar buddies, Andy Rios, Angel Velavine. Sorry about the drop off, guys. I'm not gonna be on too long, but I just want to touch bases with this. The reason why I'm doing this live is that I ran out of space on my phone, so I could clear everything. But like I was saying, my guitar buddies, Angel and Andy and Louie and Yvonne and Robbie, we get together, and they were all primarily Latino friends of mine. Not that that matters, but you're exposed to all these rhythms. And so over the course of years, I developed it. And then again, the area I lived at, which was right down the street from Wrigley Field and the blues scene, we had a combination. I was like in the middle. You got blues and jazz coming it was coming like this. But even the blues players it was much more than your standard. Your shuffles, or it was a lot of funk grooves, And I just got done watching a little bit of a interview with Joanna Connors, who's a great blues guitarist who lives in Chicago. I remember seeing her name in the local papers in the area. But we had a lot of funk groove-oriented styles of music. So that, and combined with the interest in flamenco and classical guitar, and still loving playing, metal, it was kind of like, sometimes I felt like I was always a little bit of an outsider, just trying to fit in, but I just liked all these different styles of music. And like all guitar players who like to play leads and solos and that, but there's something really interesting with rhythm. And a lot of my rhythm is basically syncopated because, again, doing a lot of listening to guys like Al Di Meola, being able to, that syncopated rhythm. And then guitar players that would play in the area, and watching them play, everything had a groove to it, So, a lot of it is going to be having a loose wrist to develop that type of a rhythm. You know, long train running. Very, well, I'm gonna say there's simple chords, minor seventh, G minor seventh, C minor seventh, but it's just the right hand rhythm. And, again, guitar players that focus on nothing but leads, what they need to understand is even in solos there is a sense of rhythm to it. And it's not just trying to remember a scale or a mode or that, it's also picking the notes. So like Rick Romanelli was saying earlier, working those notes, let's say. Trying to pull as much out of one note. A lot of people, they complain that they're stuck in the blues box. Just remember, B.B. King, if he knew more, he would always just do what he was really good at. So, but let's just assume that B.B. King was just a pentatonic box player. He was able to say so much with less. It was incredible, and part of that is the phrasing. And I watched on the chat with Guitar Hacks, live chat. On the chat, I remember responding to Janice Lala, which Janice, I will be putting some stuff to your video, as well as the other guitar players out there. I got to now focus on this gig on Friday. Anyways, so she said, yes, someday she would like to learn how to play lead. And I really responded, really what lead is, if you think in terms like this, lead is a fancy way of playing melodies, and melodies is really a way of speaking. This is where this term phrasing comes in. So it's not always necessarily playing a scale. It's a little famous B.B. King riff he would do. Rake the strings, rake them, like sweep. Now I'm adding a little extra note there. Your vibrato. I hope that helps people, because this is one of the best ways to learn how to solo, because for some strange reason we're always being bombarded with this scale, with that, and the theory, all of that matters. Learn as much as you can. But when I was teaching heavily, if you want to avoid confusion, my friends, those formulas, for me personally, it has always confused me. I know what a fifth chord is, that's a fifth degree, okay? But I've been with so many rehearsals, with so many different bands, that they would get on these subject about formulas, and it would sound confusing, and then you're wasting time because you're rehearsing for a performance. And this is where that dividing line comes into play. When you go out there and you perform, you gotta play as flawless as possible, and none of us really do. But you gotta look like you're having fun. You gotta get through that performance, because 90% of your audience could care less. And I'm not using this as an excuse to be not learn theory or anything like that. No, learn it, but do it in steps that's easy for you. The best way is if you know all the notes on your fretboard, you're going to avoid so much confusion, because what has helped me is when people would start to talk in code, as we would say. A lot of us we're street educated, right? We would use the term, look, they're talking in code. What the hell are they talking about? Let's come on, play. Once you understand where your notes are at, you can simply ask them, well, what are the notes you're playing? and then low pitch to high, and then you can figure out where your notes are at. Okay, this is what you're doing. Or if you're doing a blues box scale, C, D sharp, F, G, A sharp, C. That right there is D sharp. That's F. That right there is G. That's A sharp. That's C, and that's D sharp. It's really not that difficult. Um, but when it comes down to your performances, that's when you got to have things nailed. Now over the course of time, my best suggestion for anyone is take it in steps that you personally can handle. Don't worry about the guy across the street or the girl next door or whatever. Do what is easy for you to understand, because theory is really like a roadmap. And where theory really comes into play, it's when you have to write for an orchestra or you're going to teach or something like that. That's when it really becomes super, super important. But I'm not knocking it, and I never will, make it look like it's not important. It is, but just take it where it's easy for you to understand. But now let me get back into the subject of rhythm, okay? So when I started this opening little riff for this little tune I just did, right away I'm just trying to lock myself into the groove. So that kind of, as far as shredding rhythm, yeah, you can shred rhythm. That's one way. Or like if you do the flamenco technique that you've seen me done in the past, and I'll always continue to do that, but that's one way of shredding, But it just adds excitement, okay? Now the chord that I was playing, it's based off of F sharp. Now honestly, without me having to look at my theory book, because I've got so much that I have to do in a day, that I don't have time to knock all this in my mind. So I will sometimes go and I use my theory book or my chord book to make sure I got the right chord. However, if someone would ask me what exactly are your notes within that chord, now maybe someone that is very smart with music theory, now they could say, oh, I know what that chord is, but the notes itself. So it's a way of communicating back and forth with each other. And this is where I've had people that have college degrees, they'll have a doctorate's degree in music theory. And I'm not knocking them, but when I say about the notes, they have to actually think about it. Like, to me, if you're spending all this money on education, that should become second, it should be like second nature. But everyone learns at their own pace, and when you're in school, you have to learn that type of a formula. You got to get through the course, and you have to pass those tests. So I understand that. But within this chord, my middle finger is playing the F sharp. My third finger is kind of kind of barring, and the actual notes I'm playing is an F sharp on my A string. I'm playing the E on my G string, and I'm playing a G sharp on my B string. I'm muting out my D string, and I'm doing this in half step increments. So that would be like your accents. So you can hear drums, and if you got a horn section, it'll be dun 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 dun. You know what I mean? I know it sounds crazy and it looks kind of crazy, but for people like myself who are not super educated in theory, this is how we had to communicate, because we were always rehearsing for a performance. And I will, again, like I said, I will never ever knock music theory or anything like that. But I've had a great friend of mine up in Naperville, Illinois, great jazz guitarist. Aaron Krager, I think his name was. I think that's how you pronounce it. And he told me one time he sat in on a jazz jam at one of these high-end restaurants in West Chicago. And he was playing with much older, seasoned musicians. And he was like in his late 20s, early 30s. And him being a new kid on the block, he knew his theory, he knew his stuff, and he was very good. But he told me, he says, Dave, I like doing these jams, but these people, they make me feel like inferior, And basically, how do I overcome that? It's you just keep playing, just keep playing. Respect those people, keep playing. Do not overstep them, and he knew that. But I think maybe he need to hear, like a lot of us do. We know when we're in doubt of ourselves, we always seek out, advice. And Foulfish, how you doing, my friends? Again, I didn't mean to just last minute notice. It's just I ran out of space on my phone and got locked in this rhythm groove. I figured, okay, do like a jazz fusion Sunday. Jazz fusion Sunday from a person that's not real schooled in music theory, but yet we could play. I'm not better than anybody. I'll never say that, but I know what I could do. I know what my strengths are, and basically, that's what I told Aaron. I've been in situations like this. You play with different musicians. You always want to back them up. You don't want to step on their feet. And even when you solo, I would always try to hold back because there's other guitar players. Like when I did the jazz, the blues jam a couple Sundays ago at Buckingham Blues Bar. I didn't want to step on anybody's foot. I wanted everyone. This is a guitar community. We support each other. We don't try to say who's better and who gets shred and whatever. We're all equal. We just have different personalities and we have different gifts. But when you put it all together, it makes like magic. Enjoyable for everybody. So I told my friend Aaron, I says, just be you and let it, right off your back there. Let it, the people that are, the people that want to put other people down, and when they do it publicly, they try to make you look bad, but in reality, they're making themselves look bad, because if they really are that smart, and if they really are that experienced, and have all that talent, then they should know better that someone is new out. Plus, I told Aaron, here's the reality. Nobody wants to give up their job. Nobody does. It becomes like a threat. And I told him, I says, I'm not saying this because, I'm saying you're better than anybody, but what I'm saying is, when you knew a new kid on the block and you got your stuff together, you got your technique and whatever it is that you do, you're going to have two types of people. The people that really like you, well, actually I should say three types. The people that really like you and they're going to say, yeah, that's awesome. The people that are honest and say, well, that's not my thing, but yeah, he's a great guitar player or she's a great guitar player. And then the people that envy, So the people that envy just, kind of let the water roll off your back and don't even worry about them, Because later on they always come around. But these type of chords, it's these rhythms that say basically everything. Now, the chord I'm playing basically may not make sense music theory wise, but I'm simply playing like a part of like a C. An F sharp minor. The C sharp back to C. See, all of that is part of the music. Just like what they were saying, like Rick said about what his dad told him. It's not just the notes that makes the music, it's the space in between that makes the music. And sometimes when you add certain rhythm chops, that also makes part of the music. And as a soloist, I would always have to fill in those gaps because I was always, by myself. But then when I would play with bands, and then let's say we had a conga player, or there's a horn player, there's, you have everything filling out. Now I would hold that back because if you do too much, it sounds like a wall of sound, and sometimes a wall of sound is not all that great. So that's how I would start to learn how to hold back. So I hope all this kind of helps people out there. It's really not that difficult. Yeah, foosball is the devil. The reason why I'm not with my wife and my friends watching the Bears game is that I had to kind of go over some music because I was not expecting this guy to say, yeah, let's try doing a gig with the duo on Friday. So some of the songs I was kind of rearranging there. So that's why I stayed home. Okay. But at least I got to check out Guitar Hacks live chat. So I'm going to actually do this, guys. Okay. I'm gonna let this rhythm play because it might erase. So this is the actual rhythm. Can you hear what the bass is doing in there? Now the bass is following more of the rhythm structure, but it's adding the fifth and octave in there. Now, let me see if I can get this. While I'm writing on the C chord, I'm taking this bass line basically and doing. But if I just write on that C chord, all I'm doing is the root, it's fifth, it's octave, but I'm doing it against the rhythm, if you want to call it that, so it kind of fits. And really how I started to develop this was years and years and years of practicing and listening to music at the same time, which I know there's a couple people that will totally disagree with that. Metal Stage, what's happening, my friend? Again, I apologize for the springiness on people going live, and I apologize about that. I started getting locked into this groove, and I figure, hey, why not just go live? Because I used up the space on my phone. So, when I practice, especially my earlier stages, of developing all my technique, yeah, you stay focused, okay? And to this day, I'll do that. I'll take my metronome, I'll take a little egg timer or stopwatch, and just stay there for, actually, my method is I do 10 minutes of walking scales. I hope this doesn't bore anybody. This is what this will do. This basically is what this will do to help develop your technique. You're ascending and you're descending. But, I don't know if you guys can see this. And I'll just do this on the fourth strings. I mean, I'll do it on all six, but to make life simple, we solo a lot in this area, so I figure this is a good place to start. And I'll go up and down the fretboard. But could you see what's happening there? It also trains my pinky to jump and be a lead finger. It's one good way of really developing that and your upstroke and things of that nature. And if you're going to play any type of music that's kind of technically challenging, this really does help. But I'll do that in 10-minute increments. And then, I'll mess with the speeds on my metronome. And then, of course, to get my tremolo picking. Basically, if you do like chromatics, but quad picking. Picking each note 4 times. Just to maintain, that's all. That's how I'm able to get it to go so fast, even on the acoustic, But it got to the point where I don't have to focus as much on that. So when I'm keeping my chops up, what I started to do, I've done this for years, put my headphones on and start listening to all this music. And then I started noticing every time I would listen to it over and over again because I was just fascinated by it. I liked it, you know. I started picking up on all these rhythms. It started just like sinking into me. Then I was able to play my rhythms, my picking technique to those rhythms. Then I started to like use those as backing tracks, even before, this is way before there was ever backing tracks. So I started developing all of this. Then with the jam sessions, I started to, it just kind of grow. It would just always grow and evolve, you know. And that's one way how I was able to develop my right hand technique, by enjoying it. Because there's, and I agree 100%, when you practice and you're learning something, you got to have strong focus factor. And another thing that would help is walking your scales with your eyes closed and your head turned. You're going to make mistakes in the beginning part, but what you're going to notice, two things I started noticing when I was doing this. I was starting to get used to the feel of my fretboard, so I started to know exactly the feel of the neck itself. But my pitch, my hearing, when you take one sense away, another sense opens up. And in combination, I started to be able to hear and feel exactly where I was at, and it was able to, you know, hear things. When I think in school, someone told me that they'll do, one method of ear training is they have you close your eyes and turn away, and they start playing notes, and you gotta guess. If a person wants to develop that technique, as you walk a 4-finger exercise, and you gotta do it slow, you know, it's gonna take time, but you'll be able to start to develop all that, you know. But so that's how I was able to develop all this. So by listening to a lot of fusion from like bands like Weather Report, Return to Forever, and of course Al Di Meola's solo stuff, and Tony Williams' Lifetime. Tony Williams was a jazz drummer, jazz fusion drummer. And then the local fusion bands that was in the area, I would notice what the bass would do. And I thought, that's so cool. But if you think about it, guys, Paul McCartney did a lot of that when he was, you know, with the Beatles. So that's, you know, it's one way. And it's a lot of it's real simple. You know, you root your fifth in the octave. And of course, depending on what your chord progression is, then that's when it gets a little bit more tricky. But, so again, it's simple. Nothing complicated. Now I'm going to try again to solo over it. I don't think of keys. I mean, maybe I should. I know where I'm at. And it does a lot of it by feel. This shape or is it that shape? I mean, we do tend to play in patterns. That's very true. But to avoid all this confusion and just to go out there and when you make music, it is a lot easier than what it's always portrayed. So again, people learn at their own pace too. So, you know, take that in consideration as well. But one way of learning music and wanting to go out and perform is, if you like to perform, go for that. Go for that feeling. And you want to learn theory, take it in steps that you can handle. But my biggest suggestion is learn that fretboard. Learn where those notes are laid out. And then when people talk in what we call codes, us uneducated street musicians, because that's basically what I am. And I'm not saying that to degrade myself or to make it look like, see, you don't have to go to school to learn how to music. No. I'm saying that because this is who I am. Once you understand where your notes are at, no one could confuse you, because all you got to do is say, listen, I'm sorry, I don't understand. A flat of 13th, a minor to 9th, sharpened 11th. What about the C major 10? Isn't E the 10th degree of C? If you want to really get technical with this, it is, right? We just don't say that. That's fine. So my way of getting around all that, I would just ask them, "What are your notes playing?" And it would shock me how many people do not know the layout of their instrument, whether it's guitar. I had a violinist the same way, because it was actually two violinists. One, the guy was at the Renaissance Fair. Another one was a person I played with, and she is incredible. She's incredible. I mean, it's not that she doesn't know what a notes are. She had to think, because being a schooled musician, this is what gets put into your head. You have to think this way because you have tests you have to take. I totally get that. I totally respect that. But the reason why I'm saying this, there's a lot of people out there, they feel like they're never going to be a good musician if they don't understand this. Or their chances of them getting noticed or anything like that, they won't be good. No. It's how you, how do I say, portray music. It's how you play, basically. Because people, they listen with their ears, And there's a lot of people out there that are friends of mine. All you are my friends. And they say, Dave, I don't like that style of music. I like you doing your rock or whatever. That's fine. I don't take it personal. But someone out there does like it, you see. And those are the people that you play for, and they like it, and you're good to go. But you do not have to confuse yourself. You really don't. And I hope this is not meant to insult anybody out there, because there's a lot of great people. Rick Romanelli's got a wealth of knowledge. He's great. I love watching him. Same with Guitar Hack. Guitar Hack, I agree with Guitar Hack 100%. He's a teacher, and he has the gift that he can take something that is complicated and make it simple for someone to understand. To me, that's being brilliant. That's absolutely being brilliant. A lot of you out there fall in the same category as maybe myself, where we like to play. But here's your danger factor, if you want to call it that. When you turn your passion into a business and now you're making money out there and you got to get through these gigs, this is where, if you want to go back to school, you got to do it in segments, because if you're relying off of your income from a performance, you have to understand that you have to sound good. And then take all these things in steps, because these other steps are going to help you increase your knowledge. 100% I agree with that. But if you cannot play and you go out there, people are going to judge you by what you could do, and we all know that. Now for the kind of jazz fusion, I got to erase this thing, so I apologize, guys. Did Carlos Santana influence any? He did. He really did. Because you see, here's the thing. I started playing guitar in 1974. I was 11 years old. So I graduated high school in 1981. So I'm in that frame of 1976. I'm pretty sure it was 76. I got my first electric guitar. Yeah, it was 76, and it was a cheap crap. It was crap. Not like the Squire. People say that's cheap crap. No, they don't know what they're talking about. I wish I could take these people back in time and say, here, play this. Sears Roebuck Incorporation and their catalog had better gear than what I had. That's how bad it was. But okay, so anyways, so the people that I would listen to on the loop, the radio said loop and the MET, you had the Byrds, you had Ted Nugent, you had Kiss that was coming out, of course Led Zeppelin, you had Carlos Santana, Jimi Hendrix, Robin Trower. So this is what you had. I didn't know about jazz fusion. I didn't know about Di Meola and all these people until I graduated high school in 1981. But what I liked about Carlos Santana is that ability to if you listen to the Moonflower album, when he goes into this part, the sustain and the tone he gets was just, man, incredible. So yeah, I was definitely influenced by Carlos Santana, and if people wanted to ask about some of his music, go out and get albums like Caravanserai, Boboletta, There's an album called Oneness, and when he started just getting into more of the fusion, he was getting influenced by the 70s fusion that was taking place. And of course, he got together with John McLaughlin, and that. So he was getting influenced by that as well. And when he incorporated it in his playing, that's. See, this is where education does help, my friends, because obviously the more you know, then the more outlets you're going to have. But my advice is, and this is as a performer, if you feel like you're going to be overwhelmed by all this information, then you take it in steps where you personally could handle it, little by little. I personally, I would never look down on somebody because they do it in little by little. That's how I do it too, little by little. And you'll get to your destination. And let's say you don't want to do sweep picking. I'm not a big fan of it myself, but I respect it. But I'm not going to jump on every new technique that comes out because, yes, I got to fit in with the in crowd. Or I got to buy this guitar because now I'm going to get like 1 million subscribers on my channel. No, I do the things that fit with what I like to do. And, I know my weaknesses and my strengths, and I just do what I do, and I continue. Just keep on going. And you're always going to have people that are like you and people that are not going to like you, Again, now, so I'm going to clear this, and now I'm a big fan for jazz, my jazz vocabulary. I do a lot of major 7, minor 7 chords, and again, major 7 chords. I have a hard time remembering what. These chords are called, and I apologize, but I'm just being honest. I could tell you what my jazz challenge, David. You know what? I'll put one up. Yeah, I'll put one up, and it's not going to be anything that's crazy. I started learning. Actually, there was a guy at Chicago Music Company. God, I forget the guy's name. Bill Putney, I think it was. He'd show me stuff. He was a great teacher. He'd show me stuff at Chicago Music Company. I'm not real good at that because I haven't, practiced it a lot. But I would go and buy the jazz books. Ted Green. Guitarist was a great guitarist, Ted Green. And I had this book called Chord Chemistry, and I would find chords like this and learn how to fret them. So I would play around with these chords. Okay, so note-wise, this is what I'm playing. Low pitch to high. F, A, C, and then I have a G and a high E. And when I release my pinky, now I have a. And when I release my pinky, now I have an open B. And then with effects, a flanger effect or a phase shifter, when I do that little backwards, it gives a certain emotion. So I guess really, as a player, I shoot for more emotion than I do, technique and, technicalities and that. And, but what has helped me, again, like I said, is knowing where my notes are on the fretboard. So I might not know what this fancy chord is called, but I can tell you the notes within it, like this one right here. I have D, F sharp, pinky right there is playing C sharp, third finger is playing E, and then I have a high E, and then I'll take my middle finger and go up to my low A, the A note on my low E string. So if like something like Bossa Nova, that chord shape, move it up a half step, down to the C position, back to the 5th fret. Now, when I did that little speed up, in my mind, in my head, I could hear percussion, da-da-da-da-da, that makes any sense. And I know it's a very unusual way of expressing, but if you think about it, we're hearing in our heads and we're actually trying to mimic all these sounds. So the really good musicians that I've always played with, they knew exactly where I was coming from, and they would do the exact same thing. If they would say, if they would tell me something I didn't understand, then they would say, Dave, here's the notes I'm playing, and we're shooting for this sound. Or they would say, hey, Dave, do you remember when Carlos Santana had this, and he played with this Song of the Wind off of Caravanserai? 2 chords, my friends, 2 chords. So what key is it in? I don't know, but 2 chords. And I'm going to base it off of things I've heard of C major 7 to F major 7. Chords, my friend, that's it. And the song was like maybe 4 or 5 minutes long, and that's basically what it was, you know. So, and the only reason why I'm saying this is because I got very inspired watching Rick and Guitar Hack. So that shows that they had a very good, a very good live stream. And I'm sitting here, and I ran out of space on the phone, so I figure, you know what? Let me go ahead and do some little bit of jazz playing and then just go live, None of what I'm saying, my friends, is to debate what any other people are saying or to take any value on their advice. The best thing to do is learn from as many people as you can. And you become like maybe the melting pot, but then you got so much of a vocabulary you could draw from. Over the course of time, you're going to see what I mean. Because everything is going to grow with you. And that's really the magic. So, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play those same 2 chords. But yeah, you know what? I will do a friendly jazz challenge. Nothing real complicated, but something that everyone could play to. And you could use this, here, if you use a blues box, if people feel that they're stuck in pentatonic land, when you solo, a lot of times, think of these 2 notes. Let's say you're A position, right? Or, I don't know what I could do with that, but maybe some of you could, say, Dave, I could run wild with that. That's great. For me, I could do this. Because a lot of times, I'll do minor and then minor 7th. And this is what I mean, my friends. I could see my blues pattern in there. I could also see my blues pattern in here. But I added that note and that chord. So why can't I play within this pattern? Is there someone who come out with a gun and shoot me or something? I mean, seriously. Or am I going to go to jail? I'm just joking, guys. So why can't I do that? See, there are notes within that chord. Remember, once I learned this, the whole confusion, smoke screens of confusion, it just dissipated into the atmosphere. You have 7 notes, and 5 variations of those 7 notes here in the Western world to give us the 12 tones. Let's take A. We got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 7 notes. And then A, that's your octave. Okay? You have your accidentals, which is your sharps and flats. A sharp, C sharp, D sharp, and you have F sharp and then G sharp. You see, that's all it is, and all they're doing is repeating themselves over and over and over and over again. If you got a 20-string guitar, they're going to repeat themselves over and over and over again. That's really what's going on, and you just have different combinations. Once you understand that, confusion just goes away. Formulas are numbers because 7. Pentatonic is 5, right? So here's something to think about. Here is my A pentatonic scale. I could say, all right, I could see an A minor scale there. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Pentatonic, I got A, C, D, E, and then G. My relative key to A minor, to A minor, is going to be C major. And the reason why is because C major has no sharps and flats, neither does A minor, no sharps and flats. That's what they mean by relative keys, that they're shared in the same, basically the same notes, just a different order. And that's really my level of music theory right there until I whip out the book and, bring out the big bottle of aspirin in case I get that headache. Guys. So anyways, I'm going to do this real quick. And I'm not going to use any drum patterns. Just straight rhythm guitar, those two chords, C major 7 and F major 7. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to add a bass line to it. So if anyone wants to get curious about how to approach soloing, this is one way of it, playing the chord. There are times when I'm playing, I might fall in or out. And see, now this is where if you're real smart with music theory and you could really understand it and you could predict what you're going to play, then before you play, then more power to you. But there is something magical about the art of improvising. And that is probably 98% of my playing is based off of improvising. And what I like about that is you're playing in that moment in time. And to me, music is expression of emotion. When you laugh at a joke, the very first time you hear that joke, you're going to laugh your ass off, right? The second time, you're going to laugh, but maybe not as intense, and so forth. You know what I mean? So to me, that's how I view music and playing. So once you got your technique together, as well as you like, as well as your ability, and you can make music, never worry about what other people think about you, because it's only going to be the guitar players. But at the same time, if you want to raise the bar on your playing, then the best thing to do is always look at people that could play, more advanced than you, but listen to some of their advice, because everyone's got great advice, but if it starts to put you down, then if you feel like, hey, I need to get away from that person because all they're doing is bashing me and telling me I'm no good, then yeah, that's what I was doing. I was removing myself from some of those people. And this is when I'm talking when I was younger, developing, my technique. And then later on, I'd run into those people, and then they would have a change of heart, and everything's wonderful again, But it's not as difficult as it might seem. So, Let me just go ahead and play this rhythm for people. And then what I will do, guys, my next friendly challenge, maybe I'll do like a nice jazz challenge, something like this. So yeah, guys, just tell me what you guys think about that. And thank you for tuning in. Again, I apologize. I didn't want to waste a lot of people's time on this, but I thought I'd try something a little different. Yeah, Carlos Santana once said, "I don't play music. Music goes only through me." Bingo. You know what? That's exactly how I feel. And you know who else is like this? Dave Simpson. When he starts his channel, a lot of times his Q&A, he improvises, and I'm telling you something. To me, that's magical. So, and I think a lot of you guys and gals out there are the same way, and maybe you would hear something that someone would say like, "Oh no, but you got to do this." And honestly, people, it's not that they're trying to degrade you, because they're looking at it from this different perspective, and constructive criticism always does build a person up. But if it's something that at that moment of time does not fit what you're doing, then you put it on the shelf. You can always come back to it later and watch and see. When you start to grow, I'll say this. I'll never forget what someone told me when I was like 19 years old. He said, "Yeah, you got some good chops there, man. That's great. But come see me in 10 to 20 years from now." And he didn't say that in a very disrespectful manner. What he meant is that 10 to 20 years, if you're still doing this, you're going to grow. And basically, watch and see how everything. See, people. Have you ever heard people use this expression? "Yeah, I've come full circle." I started playing blues, and I went to shred guitar, classical guitar, progressive rock, and then technical stuff. And then guess what? I'm back to blues. But what they've done, they've taken that whole cycle and all those experiences, and next thing you know, they're at this point in time where they don't care about impressing anybody anymore. They're married. They don't need to chase anybody or anything like that. They're real comfortable where they're at now. And now is the magic moment where it just seems they pick the guitar up and this music comes out. That right there. That's when you know you've become the musician you've always wanted. And it could be simple chords. 2 chords, my friends. You could be doing those 2 chords or something simple like this. Something like this. See, it's how you approach those little accents. It's bringing the human element to it. So, anyways, my friends, thank you for tuning in. I mean, I apologize about this. I think what I'll start doing for the Sunday Jazz Fusion series, I won't be doing it like every Sunday, but I'll let people know ahead of time, and then I think my next challenge would be like a friendly jazz challenge and that. So, hey guys, you have a great rest of the Sunday, and I will be tuning in before Christmas, but let's say if anyone cannot tune in before Christmas, you have a very Merry Christmas. You guys are what makes all this so enjoyable, Like Guitar Hack and Rick said, we got a great guitar community. We want to see this grow, and we want to see it grow in a very positive element, and learn from as many people as you possibly can. And when you bring everything together, watch and see. If everyone is in this for the long haul, you're going to see what I mean. Time is going to go by anyway. Enjoy what you do, and then record yourself, and then look at the playback from then till now, and then you'll see what I mean, how you grow. And it's not always how fast you play, it's what you say. So again, my friends, until next video, I will let you guys know when I go live. We'll do that, okay? You guys take care, rock on, and God bless, and we will see you in the next video. Take care. You guys are great out there. So long.